years with a fine tenor voice, after the style, I think, of one of his great heroes, Joseph Locke. And we're starting off with Frankie singing a song from an LP he made a number of years ago. And this is one, and I apologise to farmers in Donegal, but it's such a fine song in any case that no relevance whatsoever is attached to it, other than the fact that Frankie sings it rather well. It's Cutting the Corn in Creeshla.
Dear Danny, I'm taking a pen in my hand to tell you we're just out of sight of the land. In the big Allen liner, we're sailing in style, but we're sailing away from the Emerald Isle, and a long sort of sigh seemed to come from us all as the waves hit the last bit of our sunny ball. Oh, it's good to be you that is taking your take where they're cutting the corn down in Creeshla the day. I spoke to the captain, he'll not turn her round, and if I swam back, I'd be apt to be drowned. So I'll stay where I am, and the diet is great, the best of combustibles piled on me plate. But though it is sumptuous, I'd swap the whole lot for the oil wooden spoon and the stir-about pot, and Katie for Nance me a wetting the tay where they're cutting the corn down in Creeshla the day. There's a woman...
Typical of the kind of songs that be on your LP.
Well, it is, Joe. It was an Irish LP. Actually, the LP is called My Ireland of Dreams, and it's all Irish songs.
Produced some time ago?
It is. It was actually produced, I would say 7 years ago, around about 7 years. It was really produced for to raise money for the handicapped and the foil. They were trying to get funds to build a hall, a recreation centre for the young lads, you know, and for their parents not to meet.
So was it your idea to actually record the LP and give the proceeds as a donation towards this cause, was it?
Well, it came more as an inspiration, Joe. It was I was having to be doing a show for the handicapped in Pennyburn, and this idea came to me. I was doing a lot of work at the time, and it was fairly popular in the town and surrounding areas, and I thought that to make an LP for these youngsters would be a great thing, you know. And I think that, you know, every artist or singer or whatever he's doing feels inside of me has to do something for charity, you know, and this was my way sort of being
making your contribution.
My contribution and did, you know.
Right.
So the LP, like, there was about 7,000 made altogether, and they were sold on a private basis. So I think it can be bought up to the present day, as far as I know.
So it's still available on request if you want to order it?
It's still available.
So what's the name of it again, Frankie?
My Ireland of Dreams. It's all through now, and if we got the whole built, you know, and I feel I put a wee bit into that, you know.
Right, so you have a sense of achievement about that?
I have a wee bit of a sense of achievement, you know.
Let's look at your own career, Frankie, going back to whenever it started, if you can recall that far back. When did you first sing in public or conscious of having a good voice?
Oh, it's a fair while ago, Joe. It will be the early 50s. And I remember it was a brother-in-law of mine, a fellow called John Hargan. He wasn't my brother-in-law at that time. He married my sister later on. And John was a regular singer with the band in the Memorial Hall. He became the steady MC and singer up there. And a very good crooner he was, you know. And still is. We went on under the name of the Harmons. It's sort of a straw hat act, you know, and there was a lot of great names on the bill with us at that time. There was Willie Campbell's band was backing us up. At the top of the bill was a Dublin man called Martin Crosby, and Thelma, his wife, who's the accompanist. And there was the Saddle Pals, very famous group in Derry. Even if you speak at the present time, some of the younger people even remember them. You know, they've heard their fathers and mothers talk so much about them. They comprised of, God have mercy on Paddy Harkin was Pat. You know, he was the Pat in the Saddle Pals. And then there was Hugh Harkin, his brother. And there was a tenor there, very great singer, great voice, a fellow called Neil Murray. And Oogie Ramsey was on guitar. And then there was one of the greatest entertainers, to me anyway, in the town, a fellow called Eddie Carr. Eddie Every Voice Carr, you know, who could imitate anybody from Al Jolson to Louis Armstrong, you know. Or,
So he was a good impressionist, was he?
he was a brilliant artist.
Yeah.
Still is, you know, still a great, you know, these people seem to be sort of left aside, you know.
Are they
for
still
some-
performing around?
Well, they are.
this?
I mean, if you know this, what has brought a lot of this talent back to the public eye is this back-to-back thing, you know, that they run in the bars.
These are the competitions that...
That's it's competition as well as that. You see, you get the older artists like you have Bosco Haggerty there. He used to have a group called the Hayseeds. You know, and Bosco's one of the finest artists. You know, great fella, and these people are never really heard. You know, they talk about characters and people and personalities in Derry. Well, the only people that can hear these are the ones that would go to a bar and the back-to-back show, like, you know.
And of course, as you said, there are at least a couple of generations who have never heard of them at all.
They've never heard of them. You see, well, the point I'm trying to make to was in my day, you had concerts steady. You know, you had, as I say, Abbeville, Harry O'Doherty and Mickey Kelly. And then you had the Sunday night concerts in St. Colum's Hall. And that was a steady, you know, it was packed, the hall was packed every Sunday night. It was 1 and 6 for the back seats and 3 shillings for the front, you know.
So it was a great outlet for local talent.
Well, it was great, you know, and the talent then, they had a great, you know, although they brought on talent from outside, naturally, like, but the local talent got a fair share.
I suppose the rise of the television and, you know, all the other forms of entertainment sort of, you know, worked against all of these talent shows and all these concerts as well. I suppose people found other forms of entertainment, really.
Well, I would say so, Joe, but then again, you see, there's another point that I'd like to make, and that's that, you know, you take that young lad McShane at the minute, you know, he's in the top 20.
Baltimora,
Well,
as he's
got
known
his
as.
Baltimora,
Yeah.
you know, that's, I know his father well, Harry, you know, and they're a very musical family, but if that wee lad had have stayed in the town, he would probably be singing in the rocking chair.
If he was lucky.
You name it, you know,
It's a point you're making, I suppose, then, that if you choose to remain here and stay here and use this as your home, then the chances of breaking into any big time at all are very remote, as what you're
there's
saying.
no chance at all, in my opinion, you know.
Would you say that's what happened in your own career?
Well, it did and it didn't. So you see, like, I was dogged with a disease, you could call it. It is a disease, you know, of a problem of drink, you know. And I got managed a good booking outside of Derry, you know, atop the bill in the Embankment in Dublin, which is not a bad venue, like, you know. And I was in a place called the Disbury Hotel in Manchester, you know. And Joe Locke gave me a powerful lot of bookings. And I've done a lot of touring with Brady Gallagher and Eileen Donaghy and people like that. You know, and I was always dogged with this drink problem, you know.
So at one stage, did it look to you as if your career could take off on the national scene at the very least anyway?
Well, I thought myself that, you know, when I won the Brand No Doubt competition in Bundoran in 1968, I thought then that things were going to go great for me, because with the prize, there was a record, you know, sort of an audition type of thing for a record, with a demo disc thing. And James McCafferty and myself went to Belfast to do this, and we put 4 songs on this record. And the man who offered me the chance was a man called Harry Christmas. He was the head of EMI Records in Ireland at that time. And when the record was to be released, Harry Christmas died suddenly from a heart attack, you know, and I didn't follow it up. You know, I didn't really ask, you know, where the tapes went to. And even James McCafferty himself often asked me, like, you know, what happened to
So you lacked a degree of push, I suppose, really, that would be required, to push a professional career to its fullest.
I didn't have enough adrenaline, suppose, to keep,
Yeah.
I sort of, when I got one good performance over, I sort of maybe got a bit of an ego about myself. I was quite happy with, say, last night's show in St. Column's Hall, and I loved on that sort of thing, maybe for a fortnight.
Did you actually get a real buzz out of performance and audience reaction?
Making people happy was a great thing with me, It was great to see people, or even, not boasting about myself. I got a few standing ovations on my day, and it was lovely to get,
So, did the drink creep in gradually as a problem? You don't mind talking about this?
No, I don't, I don't, well, you see, I felt that through my life, there were spells, I had good spells off it, and there was never a time that I had to have drink to go on the stage to entertain anybody, but somehow that I could never handle the situation after we come off the stage, and if there was a drink going, I had to have it,
Was it bound up with success to some extent?
It is, I think, well, it was, it wouldn't be now at the minute. I think I've got it well under control at the minute,
But it is a continuing struggle for anybody.
It is. It must have been very hard for people working with me as well, because I would say I would have been a very hard person to work with,
When the drink had you on its old?
Yes, when I was this disease, it never leaves you. There's no cure for it. The only thing is you can arrest it, and it's by going off the drink that is the cure, I suppose you could call it a cure. It's recovery more than anything else,
So would you look back on your career and actually blame the drink, your disease, as one of the reasons why you weren't more successful or didn't go to the successful peak that you would have imagined?
I would say so, Joe. I would say it was the main thing, it wasn't for the lack of getting chances. People were giving me chances, And even way back in 1954, I think it was, there was a priest in the Long Tower, Father Monagle, they called him.
Very well-known man indeed, yes.
He had the nickname of Father Moneybox.
That's right, yes.
Well, he was the first man in Derry to run a carnival, sort of floats through the town. You see it there in the Derry Civic Week. Well, Father Monagle was the first man in Derry to ever run that, And one of the things that he ran that week was a concert in St. Column's Hall, and the first prize was a fortnight's holiday for two in Butlins, and or £200. I entered the competition. It was my first competition, I think, and I won it. And naturally, I took the money. I didn't think about that going to Butlins could have furthered my career. And this is where the old thing came in again, this alcoholic mind came in again, that even in those days, way back in 1954, I wasn't able to think of my career. I was thinking more of the money and what I could buy with the money, And
£200 was quite a sum.
It was a big lot of money in those days, it was a big lot of money. And I remember there was a wee man called Doherty, Tony Doherty, was a housing, actually Sister Anna's father. He was the man that was organising the thing to Butlins and all, And I accepted the money. And I remember Tony saying to me, "You're foolish, take the trip to Dublin, and the Butlins, I just couldn't see any sense in this, because I had worked in a holiday camp in England, in Morecambe, you see, and going to Dublin seemed to be on my mind like a going to work sort of thing,
Yeah, right.
Holidays in those days wasn't, you hear people talking now about holidays, but holidays in those days was walking or thumbing a lift, if you were lucky enough, or an old bike to Buncrana, That was the holidays for people in those days, and they were lucky to get those type of things, Maybe a day a year to Buncrana,
When would you say was your lowest point in your career?
The lowest point in my career was, I would say, when I got really down under the depths of drink, and I finished up actually in William Street, Dennis Bradley, a great friend of mine, took me into Northlands at that particular time. My wife and myself had been separated, and things were going very, very bad. terrible, you know. And there was a fellow called Charlie McCarn. He was a barman in the Lion Bar that day. Said to me, he says, Frankie, have a look at yourself in the glass, you know. You know, just look at yourself. And when I looked at myself, I didn't see anything different, you know, at the time. But he must have seen a terrible difference in me, you know. And I went up and seen Dennis Bradley. And Dennis, being the man he is, he took me in, you know. And he's always been he's a lifelong friend. Me and him was a wee argument and tough, you know, naturally. I've been alcoholic and him trying to sort of spoil that for me, you know. Coming on between drink and me, you know. And, you know, Dennis, I would say, was instrumental in setting the seed of sobriety in my head. And then after that, after I left Northlands, I'd done a lot of drinking. You know, I suppose I had to do it. And I finished up. The last place I was in was a pure coincidence. And I landed in a place, I was full drunk. And there was a girl called Angela Semple, a good friend from Cregan, who ran me to the place in her car, you know, and she took me up. It was to Sister Concilio in Newry. And I spent 7 months with Sister Concilio. And I really found what could make me stay sober, and that's God, you know. It's not that I'm trying to say I'm a holy Joe or anything like that, but real Christianity, you know, and loving other people and seeing other people, you know, seeing these people with this disease. You know, there was other times that I got sober that I sort of put myself in a different frame or a different line from these people. I wasn't one of them anymore. I was a sober man, you know. But when I left Sister Concilio's, I got this gift of seeing people as human beings, you know. And the man in William Street is the same as me. Like, that is me. I use him as a mirror, you know. And sometimes he's very good for me, although I feel very, very sorry and concerned about him. I would like to make the whole world sober if I could, you know, but that's impossible. You know, if anybody could find a cure for this disease, they would be millionaires overnight, you know.
What about your singing career? Do you see that as being sort of, as it were, back on sober lines again as well?
It is at the minute, Joe. I'm thinking very sober, you know, and I would like to get back into the singing world again, you know. But it's not easy. It's not easy to, when you do so much damage. I didn't do any damage, I don't think, to my voice. It's still good enough. But when you do so much damage to people, you can't expect promoters and people to trust you and say, well, Frankie Mooney has changed, you know. And he'll not be the bad-tempered person or the hard-to-work-with person. You know, the kind of me at the minute, I would... it's immaterial to me whether it's a big job, say for £200-300 of a fee, or a charity job for pensioners. That's immaterial to me.
You just like to sing?
I just want to make people happy, you know. I want people to sort of, to hear Frank Mooney, you know.
And on the bright side, of course, a singer is as good as his last performance, so you have it all still.
Well, it's still there. Like, I mean, I think that there's a, you know, when you go to places like the Embankment, and you get a crowd of maybe 800 to 1,000 people sitting there around tables, and you know, or even around Guildhall down there, like when you sing in front of the mayor and get a stand ovation. You must, you know, I never really, I've never said to anybody in my life that I'm a good singer, but people have always told me how good a singer I was, you know. So there must be something there. You know, I've never really fancied myself as a great singer. And there was actually people who would have compared me to the great Joe Locke, you know, a great friend of mine. But there's no way that...
it's a great compliment all the same.
It's a great compliment, but I think that people are being very nice to me, you know, by saying that. But to compare me with Joe Locke, you know, Joe Locke is a one-off as far as singers in this country is concerned, you know. You
were saying earlier, of course, that you also owe him a great deal, and not only in terms of technique, but in terms of how he's helped you in the early career and so on.
Well, I mean, he's a real gentleman as far as I'm concerned. You know, there's not only Joe, but there's people like James McCaffrey. There's several people who have helped me, you know. People who are out of the business at the moment, like George Doherty, for instance, you know. George, I hope he gets well, but he stopped playing at the minute. There's Noel Martin on the other side, Tony Carroll, there's so many great people in Derry that go out of their way to help a person like myself,
And stay friends is throughout, doesn't it?
Well, this is what built up to let me know that the Christian attitude, the Christian thing that I have now, that these people are so Christian,
We're going to hear one more song from you, Frankie. What's this one called?
Well, I would like to just, for the people across the border, maybe just look at the homes of Donegal. It's an old Charlie McGee number. Charlie used to sing at the Columns Hall in the days when I done a concert with him, and this was one of his songs. It was written by a dairyman, actually, Seamus McGowan, But it shows the love that we have for Donegal. I think we're all in one county anyway,
Well, that's off the LP again, and Frank, all I can say is I wish you the very, very best of luck with your whatever you choose to do in the future, and many thanks for talking to me this afternoon.
Thanks very much, Joe. Thank you.
I've just stepped in to see you all. I'll only stay a while. I want to see how you're getting on. I want to see you smile. I'm happy to be back again to greet you big and small. For there's no place else on earth just like the homes of Donegal. I always see the happy faces smiling at the door. The kettle swinging on the crook as I step up the floor. And soon the teapot's filling up me cup that's far from small. For your hearts are like your mountains in the homes of Donegal. I always sit along with you and while away the night with tales of yore and fairy lore beside the fire so bright. And then to see prepared for me a shake down by the wall. There's repose for weary wanderers in the homes of Donegal. The time has come and I must go. I bid you all adieu. The open highway calls me forth to do the things I do. And when I'm tramping far away, I hear your voices call. And please God, I'll soon return unto the homes of Donegal.
Frankie Mooney there, and my thanks to him indeed for entertaining us for the last half an hour.
But though it was my heart that was ringing me the The way to fairyland.